Today we are talking about beehives. On the farm we've got bees and we need some more hives. And this time these hives are going to be owned by my daughter Tabitha. So in came a pallet of supplies. We bought some little better grade pre-cut hives and materials. And these kits need to be assembled. There's enough in this pallet for her between the foundation there on the upper right and this nice wood here on the bottom. I'm not really sure I'm going to use these bases though. But regardless, there's enough wood here to make at least 3 standard hives. So first thing to do was get her making the frames and get the foundation in. We glued them. It was a little tricky for her. She's not used to using the nailer. I know some people like to use staples, but I actually kind of preferred the brad nailer with about 1.5 inches long. I think that works best. Once she got into a rhythm, she was able to make these pretty quickly. It just took a little bit of time figuring things out and getting it going. We're going 4 high on each of the hives, 2 supers and 2 bases. That'll be medium bases, and then 2 smaller supers on top. So basically 4 boxes, 10 in a box, so 40 in a hive. So 120 of these frames got to be put together. So it took her a little bit, but she eventually figured out how to do it. Getting them glued together, get them put in place and done. Now you can buy these things in plastic, all pre-assembled, and you certainly can buy them in wood pre-assembled. But unless you're buying them from a reputable company, pre-assembled, it seems like most of the time they come with cheesy staples which rust or rot out, and they're sometimes put together somewhat cattywampus and not straight, and I'd prefer not to have that be the case, and a lot of times they're not glued. That doesn't mean they all are that way, but some of the cheaper ones are that way, so I just prefer we do them ourselves and then we know what we've got. So a little bit of a learning curve here for her, trying to get her used to the nailer and getting it in straight, but it certainly went well. As far as the boxes go, same thing. They give you these little pinholes. They expect you to nail them together. First of all, I can't repair them that way, and boxes do occasionally get broke, so that's not what I like to do. I like to have her drill out these holes just a little bit so they can accept a decking screw, and I put 1.5 inch decking screw into these. There's a couple different ways to do it. Here she's just opening up the ends, kind of oversizing them about maybe 1/8 of an inch deep so that the heads fit flush. And then she's going to drill out the centers on the floor because that's actually faster for her than the drill press. Again, drill press works great for doing this, and you certainly could punch the holes all the way through also with a smaller drill bit and do this that way too. But for her, she's just getting the depth right with this because it has a stop on it, so she can't drill too deep when widening out the top for the screw, and then she'll be much quicker with the drill bit. Now, I'm giving her 3 of these hives, and the first one she'll do is white, the next 2 also be white, and then the doors in the front where the bees enter will change the color on. I like to have all the components white, that way I can just kind of interchange them, with the exception, like I said, the bottom box. So you get that nice brood box down there with the queen. I like to have just the face of it be a little different color so they recognize it. So here again, she's taking those ones that she already reamed out the top for the screws, and she's just drilling them out so that they easily accept the screw and they don't split or crack. I think this works really well. Again, that way if I got to take them apart, I can. Now you'll notice she's not gluing these. She glued the frames, but she won't glue these. That way if we do drop one and crack it, it's pretty simple for us to take it apart and put another one in. As far as, how we build them, we've got ones that are super, and we use them that way. But this one I'm having her start with is just a traditional setup. I think that's a better learning experience for her, even though they will be heavier because of that at the bottom. So here she is just driving home those screws. She's getting used to the gun, and she'll really start cooking along here as she gets going. I would say, to assemble one of these, you need at least probably maybe 2 hours on all the frames for one, and maybe another hour on the boxes. But for her, it's a whole day thing. I'm building myself a kind of robbing screen, and I'm copying what's online. I made a nice square in the front with a little hole on the top, a little slit in it so the bees can come out. And I'd also like to make one in the front, and I'm trying to line up basically like a grid piece of metal, and I'm trying to make it so that if I put it in one way, it's got little holes at the bottom, and the bees can come out the bottom if they want. But I'm also trying to make it so that if I turn it around, I could shut it, and I can actually use my screen then as a transport or a complete enclosure to force them up the little hole at the top, which obviously stops robbing a lot more. So I'm kind of working with it. It wasn't exactly the easiest to build, and I had to build, like I said, 3 of these. I'm not sure I quite built them right, but I got a nice fit. I got a nice closure. And then on top of that, I was able to put my mouse guard on it still, which I like to use for wintertime. So basically, I've kind of got the ability to shut this thing completely, or I can turn it around and let the bees go through it in a more controlled opening. If I shut it completely and I have the other top closed, they can't get out at all. But if the other one is open, the bees can go out the top, and of course they can guard it quite well. Also down here in the bottom for winter, I've got the ability to keep my my big screen on it that keeps the mice out, and I like that. So to me, a robbing screen is worth it. And again, I build these myself so that way I know what I get. So I got, again, the ability to go up the top and get the bees out. I got the ability to come through the front and get the bees out. And I've got the ability to use the mouse guard all in one. I did buy different bottoms for my hives. This came from Mann Lake. I like these. I love the grid, and I like the ability that it slides out. Now, their particular grids actually slide both ways. I will take a little thin piece of wood on the backside and stop it from sliding out the other way because I don't like to over push it in. So it only comes out the front when I'm done. Beehive Stands, you can buy them online at Amazon. You can buy them at Mann Lake. You can buy them at Better Bee. You can buy them anywhere you'd like. I particularly like the metal ones, and you certainly can make your own out of wood. I don't really care for the wood so much. When you make your own wood stands, though, like a lot of people take cinder blocks, put a couple cinder blocks down, and run some 2x4s. I find that sometimes the bees and the boxes get a little sticky, and they stick to that, and then they're hard to come off. I'd much rather have the 4-point, individual frame. They make these out of plastic, and they make these out of metal. I guess it's preference as to what you like. My ground is nice and level, so I don't mind the metal frames. That's just my opinion. Anytime I use the legs, it allows me to put the straps around my hive. I do like that. We are in an area that does have some small black bears and coon, and occasionally I've seen a hive tipped over, and I don't like it when everything falls and breaks apart. When you strap them together, they tend to tip over, hit the ground hard, they dent, and they move around a bit, but they stay together and the bees seem to survive it much better. So I do like that too. When you put legs on it, you're allowed to easily strap it. I think that really works really well. So we're going to assemble the frame here, and we're going to put the base on it with the screen, and then we'll start putting her boxes on top of it. I've dealt with boxes in different ways. Obviously, when we were in vet school, my bride and I, they were big into waxing the boxes. But I can tell you that if you go down to my alma mater and you look at their bee stuff, it's pretty beaten up and pretty weathered. The wax does good only for a couple of years, then it wears off. I've also seen the latex paint from the Menards at Home Depot. Oh, water's water. Latex paint is made to breathe, but eventually it gets water behind it. And in Minnesota, we got a freeze-thaw cycle. It breaks. So the thing that's worked best for me is the Mann Lake oil-based. I guess it's like a thick pigmented paint. That's worked the best for me. So that's what I'm going to have her use. It's held up for years, and I do like it. Doesn't mean there aren't natural things you can't use. Doesn't mean you can't go out there every few years and wax up your hives or put a natural treatment on. Go for it, folks. Not against it. But this is what we like to do for me. As far as the inside goes, I really like this. I know these are sold typically to help you. They come like one to a hive and help you align your 10 frame or your 8 frame or even your 9 frame. But I like them for just in the box, period, to keep them aligned. So I put a little lip guard on the edge, and that's just a little bent piece of metal so that you can pull the frames out. And then I screw these guards to each side, and then that way there's no way the kids can mess them up when they're putting them in. They can't get them too close. The bees have the nice ability to work between them, and again, not stick them together. They can still build across. Don't get me wrong. You still get those headaches, but it's much better this way. I think it works out a lot better. So here she's adding the frames to this bottom box, and typically she'll do this with 2 bottom mediums, and then she'll have her queen excluder, and then she'll put her supers on top, and then she'll put her cover, and she'll prep it for her winter, and then she'll put the bee cover on. That would be typically how we would set up one of our hives. And for the sake of learning right now, I'm just kind of having her go through the process. She'll take this all apart and paint it, at least as far as the frames. But again, I kind of want her just to get the concept down again. Sometimes in the winter, it's a good time to teach, because when you're out in the field the day of, even though my girls have seen this stuff, they sometimes tend to forget, and this way they kind of remember how it all goes. So there she's got the 2 bottom ones on. Now she's doing the supers up top, and they're coming together really nice too. Again, I like having the ability to just have all the frames fit in perfect and work really nice. As far as added features, I don't have much. I have the cover. I have an empty box or two that I can use for putting in the feeders. I've got some beetle traps for her. And certainly, like I said, I've got the cover and the winter cover, and then the actual cover of the hive. Some people like to do the wood with the metal cover, wood with metal over the top for a cover. I've kind of fallen in love with these plastic white covers that you can buy. In the summer, they seem to keep things nice and ventilated. In the winter, they really work well with my insulated covers. And as you can see there, they strap down nice. So I'm really not leaving those. I like those. I'd recommend them, folks. They really seem to work really good. There she is. That's Tabitha. This is going to be her hive. She's got 2 more to get going on. But before she goes too far, I need her to start painting these. Because when you start painting a beehive, you end up with pieces everywhere. We do 2 coats. There's maybe a run or 2 as she's learning, but she's getting it. I told her she could take off the screen and paint it and then put the screen back on, but that's how she chose to do it, and that's fine too. But over the next couple days, she gets both coats on. We only paint the outside and the edges, and it really turned out quite nice. As you can see, in the meantime, while she's waiting for paint to dry, she's been working on her Jenga pile. No, I'm just kidding. But those are the rest of the frames that she's made for the other 2 hives. It's kind of a fun pile of Jenga. But this is what she's been doing while she's been working on those to dry. We did get one then together for the end of the video here to show you. She's pretty proud of it. It'll never look this clean again. So again, here's all the pieces on the floor unassembled and now fully painted. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to quick stack them up and show you the finished project. So here it is. This is Tabitha with her first ever hive that she's made. She's got one almost assembled behind it. She's got 1 more to go, and hopefully she'll have a good, successful year starting to raise bees for herself. Thanks for watching, folks. Please like and subscribe and support our channel.